This is Inside Heavy, and we've got a great one for you today. Black and Blue have just released their first album in over 23 years. It's entitled Hell Yeah, and it's out on Frontiers Records. It hit the stores May 13th, 2011. The band's lead singer, Jamie St. James, joins us right here at Inside Heavy to give us the full inside scoop about the album. So for God's sake, stay put. We're coming right back with Jamie St. James from Black and Blue right after this.
Here I'm going nowhere, nowhere fast.
Attention, all bands and merchandise vendors. Get international exposure for your bands or merchandise at InsideHeavy.com.
Hungry music fans.
Inside Heavy is one of the fastest growing metal news sites on the
21
planet.
million
The world
visitors.
is crawling all over Inside Heavy, and now for as low as $10 a month, they can
stars.
see your band.
Industry
So what are you
professionals.
waiting for? Go to InsideHeavy.com and start your ad campaign today.
Expose yourself.
We've got the traffic. We'll put their eyes on you.
We are back with Jamie St. James from Black and Blue right here at Inside Heavy, the world's inside source to heavy metal. Joining us on the phone, Jamie St. James, Black and Blue. Welcome back, my friend.
Rock on. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Hell Yeah is out. How relieved are you that it's finally here?
Hugely. It's been a long haul, and I knew how good it was. I just wanted people to hear it. You know, you can say it's good for years, but nobody knows until they hear it.
Absolutely. Now, the band has been through all kinds of things just getting this thing out. It started in 2003, the way I understand it. Give those that's going to be listening to this a little recapper on all of the setbacks and why it took so long for this project to get into our hands.
I'll try to make it brief,
Sure.
here, but try to pack 8 years into a minute or two. I got a solo deal back then. Decided I wanted to turn it into a Black and Blue project. Jeff Warner had a studio, so it seemed like a great timing. So, the label was happy to turn it into a Black and Blue project. They got, the bigger end of it there. So we started. I had some songs. Whoop had some ideas. We started writing, started recording. He ended up losing his studio eventually, like a year into it. It took us a year only because there was a lot of other things going on, and I was down in Los Angeles. He's in Portland, Oregon. I mean, half the guys live up there. The other half live down here in Los Angeles, where I'm from. So that makes it difficult, but we'd fly up, and, eventually I ended up staying up there for a while when we were doing the bulk of the basic tracks. But, then I joined Warrant. That kind of put a damper on it, unfortunately, but it was just something I wanted to do because I wanted to go out on the road and,
Sure.
I like playing live. That's what I do. So anyway, we changed record labels. Had to go through that process. And, look, I'm just glad it's finally here. All that stuff is meaningless now. What really means something is, it's a great record.
Exactly. With it being so long in the process, did the starts and stops affect the music? Because when I listen to the album, I can kind of hear little bits and pieces of different styles of what you may have been doing at the time. And we'll get into the songs here in just a second, but the one song, Candy, that's a very Warrant sounding type song, and I can't help but think maybe you wrote that during that period, but did it?
You might think that, but it's not true because Jeff Warner wrote that. He
Really?
brought that in. I didn't do it. But, I did write some of the stuff while I was in Warrant. Didn't know, I knew I had a Black and Blue record, and, we in Warrant, we did a record. But I did write some stuff while I was in Warrant, but I wrote it with Black and Blue in mind. But yeah, Candy, that's Whoop. So
great song, by the way. I love the simplicity of the power chords, and it's just a good rock song. Good rock song.
It's a good tune, and that's one of the last tunes we recorded. We did the final recording session we did was for Come On, Falling Down, and Candy. That was last stuff to finish it off. And some of the early stuff, I mean, my God, we recorded some of that stuff in the very beginning, you know, all that time ago were basic tracks. But a lot of it, you know, during this whole 8 years, we would get together and just do as much as we could. We'd find different engineers. So, I mean, it's amazing how it sounds pretty much together like a whole record when we'd use different people, different rooms. That was a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I think it comes out pretty well. There definitely is some songs were written a long time. Well, Hell Yeah was written way back before. That's how I got the record deal in the first place, was that song Hell Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Was there so there was no problem keeping the energy in the studio with the starts and stops then?
No, not really. I mean, we would get back into it and say, okay, where were we? You know?
Right.
But it worked out. You know, the thing about it is with Black and Blue, we cannot see each other for 4 years and then get together and play a set that sounds perfect. You know, it's like we just gel together because when you've been in a band for 30 years, it's really just like it's a no-brainer and it just comes natural. So we just do what we do.
Cool. Well, let's talk about some of the songs on there that stuck out in my mind that I think are the ones I feel are the best songs on the album. The first one is a song, the very first track, Monkey. That's a great classic Black and Blue song.
Awesome.
Tell me about that song. Who wrote it? Was it in the beginning or towards the end there?
I wrote that song, and I wrote it early on. I wrote that song probably after I did the demos. I started working on, and I believe I might have still been in the very tail end of being in Warrant, and I started writing that song. And I put it all together, and I showed it to the guys, and I think that may be the first one we started working on, because they liked the riff a lot. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I mean, I wrote that thing, and I thought it would fit perfectly, and it came out great, yeah.
Well, you know, the thing that I've always liked about Black and Blue, and I have always said this, and I always will, that Black and Blue, I think, was one of the best bands from that L.A. movement, right along with Rat and those guys.
Well, thank you.
That song, it has everything that I always liked about Black and Blue, because it's heavy. I like when Black and Blue is heavy. You know, I liked Miss Mystery and all those other songs and stuff because I don't think you've ever really made bad music. But when you're heavy, like Chains Around Heaven and this song and that song, Snake, those are I think that's where Black and Blue shines, in my opinion.
Well, I think that we feel that as well, and without a label breathing down our throat. I mean, Frontiers is an awesome label to be on, and that's really cool, but they don't interfere with what we're trying to do, you know, the way we probably were interfered with more on Geffen. We can and that's what I like about this record. It's just whatever we want to do, basically. And we do like the heavy side of Black and Blue as well. So this album, you know, is a little bit more heavy than maybe, you know, it was heavier than Without Love. You know, I like Without Love a lot. That's a side of Black and Blue that I like, but we like the heavy side ourselves, you know.
I just think that it sounds like everything is coming together perfectly when you guys are heavier. You know, cool. It's just good stuff. You probably every once in a while tune in and watch that metal show, with Don Jameson and those guys. They did a thing recently where they, did a little segment on bands that should have been huge. You know, they had bands like Saxon on there. If I was on the panel, I would have mentioned Black and Blue and Crocus and bands like that because, you guys really, really made some of the best music in that time period. Unfortunately, I think maybe some of it got lost in the mix because so much of it just came flooding out just shortly after your first album. But
yeah, you know, I mean, we were kind of early on the whole thing. We were the third band in Los Angeles signed in 1983. It was Quiet Riot, Motley Crue, then Black and Blue. But then we waited for a long time for Dieter Dierks because we wanted him to produce the first record, but he had to finish Love It for Sting for Scorpions at the time. So we just sat and waited. And that kind of hurt us because then all of a sudden these other bands start coming out. You know, Rat does a record in 2 weeks, you know, in L.A. and pumps it out. And we were offered the Aussie tour, and we said, well, we don't have an album out yet. We're waiting for Dieter Dierks, you know. So then Rat takes it, you know, and they take off. So we may have made some mistakes by trying to do the best record we could. And, you know, hindsight's nice, but, you know, it is what it is. And we were influenced by, you know, the British wave of bands coming over, the Saxons, you know, that stuff, Maiden and Def Leppard, you know, at the early stuff. that's what kind of influenced us in our direction. And we were early on in the LA wave, you know. We weren't later on towards, when it gets closer to 1990, it just kind of got weird to me.
Sure, exactly.
So, you know.
Well, even bands like Quiet Riot, who just made all kinds of instant leaps and bounds with Metal Health, they even, towards their second album, they began to get swept away by the flood as well. It was an onslaught for sure, and it was bound to die, you know, at some point there through the 90s. But, you know, I think that the good bands are still around, and we're lucky because we weren't that huge, but we were still accepted on these festivals, and we still get to play, and I think people still respect us, even though we didn't get the huge, you know, we didn't get the big money, but we got respect. And when we went out and played the M3 festival this recently, last week I think it was, by God, we got a huge respect from the crowd. It was awesome. We're still a good band. Fantastic. I've been updating my myself on Black and Blue and watching some of your more live clips and stuff, some of it on YouTube, obviously from 2008 and stuff like that. You guys still bring it on the stage, and it's a good performance even today, more so than some bands. I mean, you watch them from the day and they just don't look like they're even all that healthy. I think Black and Blue still looks even physically healthy. Yeah,
you know, I mean, we go out and we give it a lot, you know. We don't just kind of stand there and say, okay, you know. We haven't been through the ringer either, you know. We haven't just gone around and played clubs for the last 20, 30 years just to make $1, you know. So we're a little fresh, you know. We don't like to do that, and we won't do it. We go out and play a good show, and we give it 110%. And, I mean, I think we still do pretty damn good.
And let's see, Hail, Hail. That's another one that stand out to me. It's just a great rock song. I think it's one of those songs that'd be a great live song as well.
Yeah, I think it will be as well. It's one of those. Black and Blue always had a flair for an anthem. You know, we could do that fairly well with, you know, Heat It Up, Burn It Out, Strong Will Rock, that kind of stuff. And I think that fits in with that. And it's you know, we like doing that. You know, it's a little old school, but so what? You know, I think that live it will go over well. And so far we've only played Target live. And then we opened up with Come On, and that's kind of a strange thing to do because no one knows it, but guess what? It went down a storm. But, Hail, Hail will be great.
Black and Blue, by the way, let's just throw this in there. Through the years, it has become evident that you guys have been very influenced by Kiss. You did a Cold Gin tribute album, or a band.
Band, yeah.
And, of course, Tommy Thayer, Ace Frehley now, or the stand-in Ace Frehley with Kiss, and got himself a great gig there. So I've noticed through the years with that, I can hear, I think, influences of Kiss in your music and some writing. And the next song I'm going to mention that's to stand out to me on your album is called Fools Bleed. That sounds like a song you could very easily heard on Paul Stanley's solo album. I hear Paul Stanley influences in it. Am I right?
You know, when I wrote that stuff, I wrote that song. I wrote that chorus. I wrote this. Whoop helped me with the picking part a little bit. He kind of steered me in a different direction. You know, I am influenced by Kiss, definitely. Kiss was huge in my life when I was a kid, and I know the guys, so there's going to be a little Kiss pop out. I don't do it on purpose, but it may pop out sometimes.
Sure.
So may Aerosmith, you know, so may AC/DC. That's the stuff that really influenced me, and that's what I stick to. I don't really change. I don't steer too much from that because that's who I am. So yeah, I mean, I believe you. If you hear it, I say, could be. You know, I don't do it on purpose, but
sure.
Maybe so.
Well, I think what a person listens to comes out in their style. It just is a natural, becomes part of your DNA, I think, in the way you make music.
I think you're right. So when you say, I don't notice it as much as you may, because it's just, you know, I'm just doing what I'm doing. But you could probably hear where it comes from sometimes better than I can. You know, so but I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
Well, that's a good song. That's one of the ones I think is one of the best on yours. And and the next one is Come On. You just mentioned that. What a barn burner that is. And that's going to be a great live song, like you said. You just played it at a festival, and it got a huge response.
We opened with it because I wrote that, too. I'll be honest with you. Eric Turner from Warrant called me up one day, and this is when I still was in Warwick, towards the last year or so, and he said, "Hey, Saint, write a song that you can open up with." And I literally wrote that song in 20 minutes. And I have Pro Tools, so I laid down a demo of it, and you know, it never got used for anything, but he kind of asked me to do it, and that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it came out really cool. It's like, oh, God, it's just going on the Black and Blue record, you know. It's a good tune, and the guys liked it. So we did a great Black and Blue rendition of it. You know, it sounds a hell of a lot better than me playing guitar on my Pro Tools, I'll tell you that.
Okay. Did I hear you played a lot of the drums on this album?
Well, I did play some of the drums out of necessity. The idea was just to get the basics done so we could lay down the guitars and bass and stuff. But at the end of the day, you know, Pete said, well, you did great on that. I don't want to touch it. You know, and that's credit to him. He's so much better drummer than I am. But he's going, I don't know what I'm going to do that much different than what you did, which is a huge compliment to me because Pete Holmes kicks ass, man. He is so good. But he didn't want to redo some of it, you know, so... Yeah, I'm on there. I didn't want to say anything about that because I just thought, oh, just let it ride. But I don't know how that got found out, but it did. I've been saying, yeah, I'm on some of it.
Good. Is Black and Blue going to be able to tour?
Well, you know, I suppose it depends on what happens with the record. You know, as it stands, we have a booking agent, and his directions from us are, if we get a killer gig that pays well, that we can actually fly out and do it, you know, then we will do it, you know. So it's usually a festival or something like that. We have some other shows in the works I can't talk about yet, because that's the way it is. But, yeah, I mean, if we got offered a tour, we would certainly think about it, and we would love to do it. If it was a decent tour, I'd jump right on it. But if the album does well, the better those chances are. So we just have to see. But we'll still play live. We love playing live. But right now it's just only, you know, cool gigs that we can, you know, fly to and do right.
Right. What song is going to be pushed as the single?
Well, we've been trying to ask the label that because I know that they're talking about pushing several of them, and I'm like, I don't understand that. It should be just one. Just my opinion. But I heard there's one station that has played Hell Yeah. I don't know what's being pushed. We just came out, and we'll see what happens. I think they're trying to see if radio takes to one. But, I mean, in my opinion, there's a couple that could be. But we'll see what happens.
If you had your say, which one?
Shoot. I'd probably say straight off the bat Target.
Really?
Because it's just a straight-ahead rocker. There's no foul language in it. It's not too bad. It's tongue-in-cheek, so that's okay, because I do have a filthy mouth. But that one could work for us, and then, you know, down the line, the one you talked about, Fools Bleed, I think could work. Yeah, that's a killer tune. Absolutely. But, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Great. Well, I tell you what, I appreciate you coming back and talking with us about the new album. I've been waiting and watching since 2009. We talked, and at the time you thought it was going to be 2010, and well, as things would have it, it's 2011, but no time like the present, and it's a very, very good album.
Yeah, we had a difficult time with the artwork. We were going back and forth with the label, and we finally, you know, got it right, and I really like the cover, and I like the direction all the art went, but we kind of went back and forth several times, and that delayed it again. But, you know, that's only because the label cares, we care, so we both, you fight for what you want, and then you compromise, and at the end, everybody should be happy, and we all are.
Fantastic. And it's a good cover, like you said, blue, with the blue reference, and it's it's visually striking, for sure.
Well, and it was my idea to bring back the original logo, but make it look modern. So that's the logo from the first record, but all chromed out in gold and just, I think that makes a bit of a statement, the original logo's back. And I think that's the logo that record.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to let you get on about your day. Thanks for joining us in Inside Heavy. Again, I'm looking forward to putting this interview up and reintroducing people to Jamie St. James and Black and Blue. Good music again.
All right, man. Thank you very much.
Take care. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Black and Blue is one of the best metal bands to come out of the early 80s Los Angeles scene. If you like good, hard rock, old school, this album brings back what's best from the 80s metal music. You gotta get it. Black and Blue, Hell yeah, in stores and online, and I know just the place to get it. HeavyMetalFreak.com, and you'll get a great deal. My thanks to Jamie St. James for once again joining us right here at Inside Heavy, and everybody listening. Until next time, God bless and take care.